The gloomy sky made the atmosphere even more eerie. The streets were eerily empty, devoid of any sign of life. The bustling city had become an expansive, desolate space. In the heart of the city, there seemed to be an unusual object. As one approached, a continuous noise grew louder. The source of the sound was an alarm clock. The clock announced the arrival of a new day, and a man lying on a nearby bed reached out to silence it. This man was the last remaining person on Earth. Slowly opening his eyes, he calmly lay naked in the middle of the vast, empty street. After waking up, he quickly sat up and began throwing punches into the air. He followed this with vigorous push-ups. His gasps echoed through the silence. Next came sit-ups combined with cycling motions. He threw himself into his workout with an almost manic intensity. Once his exercise routine was complete, the man nonchalantly relieved himself into a nearby water container. He seemed quite at ease with his current situation. Then he cheerfully dashed into a supermarket. The once bustling store was showing signs of decay. He grabbed a bottle of mineral water from the shelf and then a bag of powdered milk. Tearing it open hastily, he poured it into his mouth in a savage manner only to choke on the powder, coughing violently. The man staggered as he walked. Slowly, he climbed the stairs, munching on some food to energize himself for the new day. With renewed vigor, he forcefully pushed open the door. The large rooftop was his alone. He calmly approached a nearby group of chickens, grabbed a handful of grains and fed them. Then, he picked an egg from under one of them, cracked it open, and swallowed it raw without hesitation. Moving over to the strawberry patch, he picked a few berries and slowly savored them. He then approached a control panel, pressing a few buttons before placing it back in its spot. Next, he added another fish to the fish tank beside him. Day 1194 of solitude. He left the rooftop and headed to the cornfield, turning on the water to irrigate the crops. Methodically, he watered the entire expansive field by himself. Once done, he refueled the nearby power generators, which roared to life with a deafening noise. After completing his chores, he found solace in a game of soccer. He set up mannequins as makeshift teammates and opponents and kicked the ball with all his might, weaving through the mannequins. Alone on the vast field, he approached the goal and kicked the ball hard, sending it straight into the net. Goal! He shouted jubilant and ran around in celebration, ending with a dramatic slide near the cheering mannequin fans. A new day has begun, he declared. The day passed and another began. Exhausted, he lay on a couch, surrounded by mannequins and empty bottles. Books were scattered across the table along with various discs. He watched romantic movies, eating through several food containers. Finally, he sprawled out on the couch, drained but alive. Another day conquered in the solitary world. The emptiness of the space was palpable. Time dragged on. 10 o'clock, then 11. Exhausted, he rested his head on a mannequin's lap. At noon, he ate again. By 2 in the afternoon, he was asleep once more, sleeping until 6 when the sun began to set. At 8, he woke up, his body sluggish and weary. Slowly, he stood up and stretched after sitting lost in thought. He walked slowly to the garage. There, he found a well-wrapped package. Unwrapping it revealed a luxurious white Lamborghini. The sight of the sleek supercar filled him with excitement. He got in and drove it outside. The engine roared, echoing through the empty streets. He drove faster and faster, the thrill of speed energizing him. He let out a shout of exhilaration and floored the gas pedal, the car shooting forward like a bullet. The speed brought him immense joy. He honked the horn loudly, the sound piercing the night. The dark sky was filled with the blare of the horn as he kept pressing it, exhilarated. When he finally tired of the horn, he pushed the gas pedal even harder. The speedometer climbed from 130 to 240. He drove, heart-pounding, breathing heavily. Suddenly, he reached for a seatbelt, casually unbuckling it. Then, he stood up, shouting with exhilaration. His voice grew louder and louder, filled with a strange joy at his situation. Tears welled up in his eyes, streaming down his face, but he continued to scream, knowing no one could hear him. His grip on the steering wheel loosened, and he let go. A fierce wind whipped through the car, almost lifting him out, but he wasn't afraid. He spread his arms, embracing the chilling night air as he pressed the gas pedal harder. The speedometer climbed to 280 kilometers per hour. The cold night wind hit his face as he sped on, the car now a soulless bullet in the dark. Without his control, the steering wheel began to wobble. The speed increased to 340. He opened his mouth to catch the wind, driving faster and faster. Amidst the lonely darkness, the car raced on uncontrollably. The relentless wind made him shiver, but he had no intention of slowing down. Suddenly, a white figure appeared on the road. Panic filled his eyes as he quickly grabbed the steering wheel and swerved. The car skidded, and he slammed on the brakes. The vehicle collided with the roadside barrier, his head hitting the roof due to the sudden deceleration. Despite the speed, the car refused to stop. He desperately tried to steer away from the white figure. The impact with the barrier produced a deafening noise. Still, the car didn't show any signs of stopping. He swiftly turned the wheel, causing the car to spin halfway across the road. The road cracked under the pressure of the car's sudden halt. Finally, the vehicle came to a stop. Blood trickled down his head as he breathed heavily, shaking. Suddenly, he remembered something. He bolted upright and quickly turned to look at the white figure. The darkness made it impossible to see clearly. Determined to find out, he grabbed a flashlight and attempted to open the car door, but it was jammed. With no other choice, he jumped out. The car's headlights gave him a sliver of courage as he cautiously approached the figure. The flashlight trembled in his hand as he moved closer. His body felt a strange tension, making it difficult to take another step. He stood there staring into the inky blackness, unable to see anything ahead. Squinting, he tried to make out what was in front of him. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. He began to move, each step slow and deliberate. His footsteps echoed in the empty night. A rustling noise grew louder as he neared. Then, the distinct bleat of a goat pierced the air. Fear gripped him tighter. The bleating became clearer. He strained his eyes, peering into the darkness, trying to see what lay ahead. After walking for a while, he finally saw what was ahead. A person. It was a woman with a goat. The man was stunned. She had short, disheveled hair and held a baby goat in her arms. Upon seeing him, she seemed overwhelmed with emotion. Tears streamed down her face as she began to sob uncontrollably. She rushed towards him, and the man, startled, tried to shield himself. The woman leapt forward and embraced him tightly. Stunned, he stood there, allowing her to hug him while she screamed with joy. Her cries echoed in the emptiness, and in his shock, he dropped the flashlight. A moment later, still unable to process what was happening, tears began to fall from his eyes. He started to cry and hugged her back. After so long living in isolation, the reunion was overwhelming. Loneliness that had consumed them both melted away as they clung to each other, finding solace in the presence of another human being. As the two remaining people in the world met, the man asked the woman where she was from. Upon hearing her answer, he was stunned. "Russia, you came all the way from Russia." The woman, exhausted and starving, began eating while she responded, sometimes talking between bites. She mentioned occasionally using a motorbike. After finishing her meal, she picked up a jar of preserved peaches and drank the syrup. Feeling satisfied, she took a deep breath and pointed to the goat beside her, adding, "But Abu here doesn't like riding on a bike." Ban looked at her in bewilderment and asked, "It took you half a year." She replied between mouthfuls, 9 months. "Ever since I saw the news, I started my journey. Initially, I thought it would take half a year to reach the coast, but it ended up being 9 months before I got here." He praised her. "You're amazing." Suddenly, she asked, "Did you really receive a satellite signal?" He answered, "Well, no." She opened a packet of biscuits and asked, "So, you haven't seen any news?" He picked up a computer and replied, "How would I know what's on the news? This thing hasn't worked for a while." She said, "I used a radio and got some news about half a year ago." Despite being engrossed in his work, he enthusiastically responded, "You're really something." Then he asked, "Did you and your family all head to Zishan?" The man seemed to have fixed the computer and asked again, "Isn't everyone supposed to go there? Why is no one there?" The woman suddenly fell silent, prompting him to look up. She continued to struggle with the biscuit packet, using all her strength to tear it open. When she couldn't manage with her hands, she tried using her teeth, but it still wouldn't budge. Frustrated and overwhelmed, she burst into tears. The man watched her, bewildered, as tears streamed down her face. Suddenly, he grabbed the packet of biscuits from her. He gently tore it open and handed it back to her, but she didn't take it. His hand remained outstretched in midair. Abruptly, she screamed, "Everyone who went for treatment is dead. Lali, not you, everywhere is filled with corpses. Millions and millions of bodies." He placed the packet of biscuits beside her and sat down. She continued, "Not only that, the rumor that Plateau could cure the virus was false. Before the virus could even spread, people froze to death, died from diseases." He was engrossed in using his computer, seemingly oblivious. After a while, he suddenly asked, "Then how are you still alive?" She wiped her tears and replied, "I showed no signs of the disease. My mother believed I was immune, so she left me in Laksha, telling me to wait for their return. I waited for 2 years, but no one came back." Tears flowed uncontrollably from her eyes again. The man sat in contemplative silence. The baby goat jumped down and gently nuzzled her, as if trying to comfort her. Their conversation ended there. The man continued to fiddle with the computer, searching for something. Suddenly he exclaimed, "Done! Look at my huge screen." The woman looked up, her face full of curiosity and interest. A gigantic screen lit up, but the signal was poor, showing no clear images. After a while, explicit content appeared on the screen. Embarrassed, the man quickly turned it off, muttering, "Oops, wrong channel." Finally, the satellite signal came through. The screen gradually displayed an image. It was a news broadcast, though the signal kept flickering. A blonde woman appeared on the screen saying, "Hello everyone, I am Hillary Clinton, the acting president of the United North American government." The large screen displayed the news, showing Hillary Clinton, the acting president of the United North American government, through satellite and terrestrial broadcasting. She addressed the world. Dear compatriots, 2 years ago, we went through the darkest period in human history. It has been 2 years since the catastrophe began. The young man let out a sigh of relief, realizing that many people around the world were still alive. President Clinton continued, "We lost our loved ones, friends, countries, and struggled to survive in extreme pain and despair. But I believe that, like me, you have not lost the desire to rebuild. Thanks to this belief, after 2 years of effort, we have gathered over 960,000 people in North America. We have controlled the disaster, restored power in production, and established a democratic government and social order. Today I am proud to announce on behalf of the United North American government that the North American continent has restored human civilization." She then shared news about a concert by Taylor Swift, showing a massive, vibrant stage with a huge cheering crowd. The two watched, astonished and elated, feeling a renewed sense of hope. The screen then returned to President Clinton, who conveyed a message to the survivors worldwide. "The people of North America have not forgotten you. We had established representative offices in 26 regions across the globe, equipped with essential supplies and services to support life." The young man and the woman felt a mix of shock and joy. They were filled with renewed hope and determination to survive. Now, the leaders of North America have taken control of over 10 operational satellites, which are working very well, covering the entire globe. These satellites provide signal and network access to most regions on Earth. After this broadcast, Dr. Schweimeyer will explain how to use the satellite signals. This program is available in 6 languages and broadcasts 24/7. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see the addresses of our offices. All you need to do is go to our offices in major cities. As the broadcast neared its end, the screen displayed the locations of these offices. The woman excitedly pointed at the screen, shouting "Northern Pavilion." The man from the beginning remained bewildered by the news. President Clinton continued to encourage all survivors, regardless of their skin color, status, race, or faith, whether they wanted to come to North America or stay and rebuild their countries. She urged, "Don't hesitate. Please visit our offices. The United North American government will exert every effort to help." Hearing this, the young man regained his spirit, shouting excitedly about the presence of other people. In his exhilaration, he grabbed his laptop and threw it. The woman next to him also released her tension and sadness, joining him in their wild celebration. The mannequin that had kept him company was shattered into 4 pieces by his frenzy. Suddenly, a loud thunderclap echoed in their ears. The news continued on the large screen. President Clinton's voice resonated again, "Ladies and gentlemen, may God protect humanity. The people of North America stand with you." The man finally stopped, confused by the repeated phrase "ladies and gentlemen." He wondered if this marked the beginning of another tragic chapter in his life. The dark night enveloped the vast, lonely space. Exhausted from the long day, the two decided to rest, sleeping right on the street. She took his bed while he spread a mattress on the ground. Suddenly she asked if he wanted to go to Northern Pavilion. He affirmed, but she mentioned that there were also people in towards the sea. After a brief silence, she asked if he wanted to go towards the sea. He firmly insisted that he wanted to go to Northern Pavilion. Each had their own perspective. She argued that towards the sea was closer, while he maintained that Northern Pavilion was nearer. After a moment of silence, she covered her head with a pillow. The young man then asked if she wanted to go to Northern Pavilion with him. Without hesitation, she sprang up and agreed. He told her to get some sleep and promised to teach her how to drive in the morning. She leaped from her blanket, wiped her tears, and agreed enthusiastically. Back in her spot, the young woman cried silently, feeling a warmth and care she hadn't experienced in years. They woke up the next morning. 2 new pairs of shoes emerged from their boxes, one for each of them. Together, they packed necessary food and supplies into the car trunk. They caught each chicken from their co-op, gave each one a name, and released them into the forest, bidding them farewell as they ran free. Finished with their tasks, the two got into the car and set the GPS for Northern Pavilion. The girl stuck her head out the window, waving her hands and shouting, "Northern Pavilion, here we come." The car sped down the highway, the road beneath littered with white bones and skulls. Ahead, they saw a road filled with wrecked cars and a long-destroyed airplane blocking the way. The girl, still excited from her driving lesson, drove recklessly through the chaos, ignoring his pleas for caution. As they neared the airplane, he quickly took the wheel, steering them away from a collision and reminding her to keep her eyes on the road. In the midst of this tense moment, she asked for his name. Amid his frantic shouts to slow down, she laughed and teased him, deciding to call him Slow Down from now on. Miraculously, They avoided any obstacles and continued driving on the highway, eventually diverting towards Western Ames City District. From the car, she spotted a watermelon field and widened her eyes in delight. Ignoring all caution, she stomped on the gas pedal. The car screeched to a sudden halt. The man, not wearing his seatbelt, was thrown forward, hitting his face against the dashboard. His nose, still injured from yesterday's accident, took another hit, causing him to clutch his face in pain. Meanwhile, she jumped out of the car, enthusiastically shouting about the abundance of watermelons and grapes. The young man in the car turned around and grabbed a large box, throwing it to her and telling her to pick as many as she could. He said he'd be back soon to pick her up. He shut the car door and moved to the driver's seat, his nose still bleeding. Out in the field, she noticed and started running after him, calling out. Distracted by his bleeding nose, he didn't notice her at first. As he drove off, he grabbed a tissue to stop the bleeding, then looked in the rearview mirror and saw her frantically chasing after him, her face flushed from the fall. He slammed on the brakes, opened the window, and heard her shouting, asking why he was leaving. He explained that he was just going to get more supplies and would be back soon. Her face, smeared with dirt and sweat, was full of panic. She feared he might abandon her, so she desperately tried to open the back door, yelling that she wanted to go with him. He refused, telling her to stay and pick the grapes. She insisted on getting in the car, so he pulled out an empty box and explained, "We need to divide the work. If we don't, we won't reach Northern Pavilion by tomorrow." Still worried, she ignored her initial excitement and said she wouldn't eat the grapes. Confused, he said, "If you won't eat them, pick some for me," handing her the box. From the car, he saw her pleading, asking him not to leave her alone. Seeing her distress, he leaned out of the car, gently wipes the dirt from her cheek, and reassured her, "I won't leave you behind ever. We're family now." The baby goat by her side bleated and nudged the car's rear tire. He gave her one last comforting look before driving away, leaving her and the baby goat standing in the field. The car came to a stop in front of a store named Heavenly Letter Passage to Western Yon Communications Equipment Company. The main characters stepped out, wrench in hand, and entered the store. Meanwhile, the girl had filled 2 boxes with watermelons and grapes. She stood on a pillar, eagerly watching the direction he had gone, waiting for his return. Her patience was rewarded when she saw the familiar car approaching. She jumped down, excitedly carrying a slice of watermelon, and ran towards the car, shouting, "The grapes are sour, but the watermelon is delicious." He opened the car door and took the watermelon slice from her. Wiping his hands on his shirt, he noticed something on the car roof and asked what it was. While munching on the watermelon and praising its taste, he reached into the car and pulled out a heap of electronic devices, including phones and laptops. He handed her a phone. She looked at it skeptically and asked, "Can this work? Can it connect to the internet?" He encouraged her to try it. Delighted, she jumped up in excitement. The scene shifted to them sitting inside the car. She fiddled with the phone and eventually, disappointed, said, "It won't connect. WeChat and Weibo don't work." He suggested trying Twitter and Facebook. After some tinkering, she joyfully exclaimed that she had connected. "There are so many people online from Northern Pavilion, Yamen, and Buhan," she shouted, full of excitement. After a moment of silence, the young man suddenly realized something and reacted with confusion. "For 3 years, we haven't seen anyone. How can there suddenly be so many people?" She explained, "We're all in the eastern regions. The East has abundant resources. It's strange, isn't it?" She agreed, saying it was indeed strange. Curious, he asked her more questions. She continued, "On Reddit, everyone is discussing men. It seems." She showed him the phone, which displayed thousands of posts about men. She added, "They believe all the men have died." The young man furrowed his brow, his mind racing with questions. One account stated, "With men gone, are we going to end up becoming homosexual?" Another questioned, "Are there really no men left? Everyone report the situation in your area. Then are all men really dead? Are you all satisfied with women's rights now?" Another post clarified, "Yesterday, a girl from Leah sent her husband was alive, but she admitted it was a lie. It turns out that information was a hoax." Hearing this, the young man turned to drive and suggested, "Try checking the North American Union's Twitter." The girl found something and quickly showed him her phone. It was a post stating, "We regret to announce that as of August 6, across 26 global regions, no men have been found alive." The young man squinted at the phone for a moment, his expression unreadable. Slowly, a smile spread across his face, growing into a laugh. He seemed oddly thrilled by the strange news. Laughing loudly, he said, "No men, just me." He reached for the phone, saying, "Let me take a look." She refused, and they started to wrestle for the phone inside the car. With a serious face, he commanded, "Hurry up and hand it over. As the last man on earth, I'm ordering you." But he quickly returned to his playful laughter. She kicked at him, shouting, "No way, monkey boy." They continued to tussle over the phone, causing the car to swerve erratically on the highway. He insisted on taking the phone, while she resisted, refusing to give it up. Their car sped down the road. Young Nan didn't hesitate as he drove straight into the Baima Hot Springs Resort, crashing through the glass doors. They got out, and Selye asked, "Are we going to Northern Pavilion today?" Yang Nan opened the back door and said, "Tonight, let's enjoy a hot spring bath. We'll have a good night's sleep and be refreshed and beautiful for our journey to Northern Pavilion tomorrow." He then pulled out a generator and heating equipment. Selye sighed, "A fake hot spring." Young Nan touched the water and said, "It's warm now." She replied, "No, it's not." He turned to leave, saying he would find clothes for her. She called after him, "I want to wear a dress." Young Nan gave an oak sign and said, "No problem." She watched him leave, then started undressing. Yang Nan quickly returned to remind her, "Remember to unplug the heater before getting in." Selye hurriedly pulled her shirt back on and screamed. Embarrassed, he apologized and ran off, leaving her blushing. At the shopping area, Young Nan grabbed everything from the shelves, focusing on essentials like razors. He shone a flashlight on the section, faced with an array of dresses. He frowned, finding it hard to choose. Meanwhile, Saya finished her bath and was drying her hair. She paused when she saw a neatly folded, pretty dress on the ground. Overjoyed, she put it on and hurried down the hallway, her face beaming with excitement. She burst into the room, lifting the sides of her dress to show it off. At the same time, Yang Nan, now dressed sharply in a suit, slicked back his hair, trying to look cool. They looked at each other.
Well, that's the story of this video. Thank you for watching until the end. Stay tuned here for more videos only on Amazing Manhwa channel.